evolving in consciousness to demonstrate it to ourselves in a way that can be understood by every mind, you know, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you know, light and sound expression. It's a hologram. This world is a hologram, and it's wonderful. You know, a paradigm of thought is a construct of a paradigm of thought. That's a good question. It's like a pattern of a construct of the constellations of information coming into your computation that demonstrate to you a certain energy that would give you an image and an understanding of a reality. And so if you have certain constellations of thought that are contributing into your construct of belief and expression of understanding, that is your paradigm of thought. And all of us are holding many, many different constellations of thought. Well, let's put it this way. You say, unit of humanity, you're saying to me, you want information comes in constellations. Please explain. So what you're saying is a constellation of thought. Okay, now, I'll explain it this way, just as a bit of a parable, just as an image that I can impress upon your mind that might speak to you deeper than what I'm saying. One day when I was asking God to me, you'll ask that question next, what's God? But when I was asking the creative source of reality, you know, how do I come into the awakening of the fullness of knowledge of all creation and the processes of creation, how things came into manifestation? This is what God said to me. God said to me, Grant, realign the neural pathways of your mind as the stars of my heavens are aligned. Now, when you look out through your projection and perception, you look out on a starry night, you look out in the darkness of night and you see the great array of the brilliance of the stars and the patterns of configurations out there as the heavens. You know, you call them the heavens, you call them the stars, and you say to yourself, they are the neurological pathways of my mind. And they are in disarray in my mind. But the true configuration and those energetic signatures of light emission, sound emission that come from those transmission constructs called stars, when you realize that you have projected the whole of creation around you from your own mind of constitution, you can actually say, I want to have the constellations of thought, of the true thought process, of the creative energy, of the living structure of what we call God, or God's source, or creative energy. I want that as my true mind. And so if you're going to say to yourself, what are the constellations of thought? Every star configuration, or every energy signature in the mind of God, creator energy, is to realign itself within your own neurological pathways of your own mind. And when you say to yourself, oh, I see, if I open up certain star constellations of thought or energy signatures of knowledge of creation that come through, you know, the star patterns of the paradigms of thought of the universal structure, if I open up certain constructs and configurations and combinations of thought, I can actually receive different knowledge into my own mind, and I can create a different hologram of projection because everything's a hologram here. So a constellation of thought would be a star pattern configuration of, you know, there's 144,000 constellations of thought in the computation of the creation. And you can become fully aligned with those because that's your original mind. And when you determine within yourself to allow that to come as your computation of the expression of your life, all knowledge comes to you because everything that's known in all of creation is known in your mind because you have paralleled that and you've allowed the complete correspondence with that. You're beginning to utilize the mind of creation as your own mind, and you're no longer creating through a mind of depreciation, which is utilizing constellations and configurations of thought that are dilapidated in a state of decay that have been passed down through ancestral genetic coding through the holographic form of your genetic structure through the DNA. You're actually starting to find yourself, you know, that you can actually have the knowledge of God and you can create whatever you want through a whole mind. And when you look at what Jesus did, you know, I'm just talking historically about the record in the Bible, whether we prove it to be true or false, it is still a metaphor, it's a parable, it's an allegory, it's an energetic signature of a hope within you to express something true to yourself. When you see what Jesus did, he could create, for example, healing within another person's body. In other words, there's a crippled person there, all of a sudden he could download the configurations of true energetic flows into that person's body and regenerate their dilapidated body into a body of youthful vitality and true mobility, And that's what happens when you start to utilize what I was talking to you about there, was the configurations and constellations of thought that are available to you through your own receptivity and realignment with the true creative energy that you would desire for your own expression, that you can create a world that you truly want, to come out of the depravity that you're currently under, to come out of the depravity that you're currently operating under in the oppression of your mind through the powers and principalities and rulers of darkness that operate through the hologram that control you and drag you down to death continuously. So this is what I'm talking about. The powers and principalities and the programmers of your mind and the constructs, the multidimensional structure that constitutes your reality field that operate through you remotely are controlling you and dragging you to death, and you're supplying energy to their matrix continuously and unwittingly. You don't know you're doing it. And many people like to think, well, I'm so bright and aware, I'm learning the things of this world, and the things of this world are false. The things of this world are false. The paradigms of thought and constructs of dilapidation that constitute the human mind are completely collapsed from the original program of life that would sustain you, and bring you forth into a holy appreciation of the wonder and beauty of your own true creative abilities. It's a complete dilapidation down here and a construct of decay, and yet people think this is it. People think, dilapidation. Dilapidation means that you have fallen down and you have become a broken construct of decay, where your original program has become unknown to you. Your original program of perpetual motion life flows has become unknown to you, and a dilapidated building would be one that has not been upkept, one that has not been kept in pristine condition, one that has been able to fall down and remain unkept until it decays to a point where it cannot sustain itself and it eventually just dies, dilapidation, So the constructs of dilapidation, the constellations of thought that constitute your mind, that teach you what you are, you're utilizing the constructs of dead men, programs of historical records that haven't worked, and they've been fallen from a construct of truth. And so you're finding what you got in yourself operating through you. It seems true to you. It seems very, very true to you. Unit of Humanity has just asked me again, I'm uncertain why there should be a construct of something that pertains to destruction. Well, it's obvious to you, isn't it? When you look at your own body, you are the construct of destruction, because the programming that programs your hologram is causing a dilapidation and a degradation and a state of decay within the atomic structure of your being, and your body actually, you come into birth through fetal integration through the mother's womb, the seed of the father, the seed of the mother, you integrate your soul fabric and you build yourself a body in the womb of your mother, you come out into this world, you come through the systems and teachings of oppression of this world, and you build yourself a body of listening to dead men. You have a genetic inheritance that goes back, thousands of generations. You're carrying the codes of corruption in your own body, and you come in here and you're wondering why, that you should fall into destruction. Well, you fall into destruction because of the coding and chemical controls of the anatomy that contain you. You don't know who you are. You've got no idea. You've got no idea of your potentials. You're just following the controls and the doctrines of the commands of dead men that program this world. And you die. The body dies, And so, if the body dies, it wasn't true, was it? Because perpetual life and eternal life is a reality of perpetual upgrading of life. And if you let your body fall into dilapidation and a state of decay through the constructs and constellations of thought of the doctrines of dead men that have programmed your hologram, If you are under the controls of the oppressors and the programmers of this world, your body drops down to death because you don't know of the power of the alternative to rise yourself up into life, you know. So you don't know of the programming that can lift you up into life, you know, or the deprogramming of this world and the remembering of the true lines of genetic flows of currents of love and light and liberty through the multidimensional structure of your anatomy. You know, historically, everyone in this world dies, you know, and that's not organic. It's total dilapidation, separation from true integrity, and you end up falling back down to dust again, from dust to dust, from dust to dust. You continuously try to incarnate again, and hopefully when you come into incarnation, you're going to get some true information taught to you by the system around you that would encourage you to rise up and overcome death in your body. But no, this whole world is so dilapidated, no one here will teach you life, they teach you death, and you fall back to death because you follow their commands. Right? You've got to realise that you have a life within you. It wants to speak to you. It wants to offer you encryption codes of ascension and awakening, of regeneration, that you can create a hologram of your true desired experience right here and now, and you can overcome death in your hologram. You can overcome death in the body. You can create a world view that you truly desire and share a mind with other like members in the creation here, that you can come into a regenesis program. But no, every time you come back in here, countless times, you know, time after time after time, you've reincarnated back into a body of death, and you've taken your body back to death because you haven't appreciated life. You know, you haven't appreciated life. And everyone on the planet's doing it. I mean, Jesus demonstrated the alternative. He says, I come to offer you something else because, you know, all of you guys down here, you're constantly doing it because of the corruption in the teaching. I mean, the education program in this world is constantly teaching world programming. It's constantly teaching control mechanisms, you know, language deficiencies. You know, the language creates thought. I mean, well, thought creates language, and the tonal signature of your voice and the thought emission of electromagnetic tonal frequencies from the eminence of your own kingdom, you know, your own reality, your temple, is consistently and continuously configuring your world. And what you've been taught down here in the constructs of education has dilapidated your mind through language programming. You know, you use a language down here that's got 26 letters in the alphabet, and there's 144 elements of speech or thought that can actually constitute the elemental constructs of the manifestation of physical reality in your hologram. And everything you see around you is in a state of decay because your mind's in a state of decay, because language is in a state of decay, because your thought is diminished and shut down and suppressed. You've got 98% junk DNA. You know, the electromagnetosphere of the containment of this earth through the intruder race lines, you know, alien invasion taking over the planet through, you know, many years of incarnational hybridization programs, etc. I've spoken about this many times before on the show, on this room. The many things that control you here through hybridization of the genetic code of your human genome, you're entertaining alien frequencies and genetic codes of hybridization, you know, that have been implanted in your biological suit called your body for many generations, and you can't help what you're doing. You can't help but think what you're thinking. But I'm saying to you, there's an alternative. You know, there's an alternative. You can hear the voice for God. You can hear your true voice. You know, like I think Dancing Waters said on the microphone before, she said, Grant, can you please address a bit more about hearing the voice of Jesus, or